5 components of behavior modification. We are all familiar with the concepts of reinforcement and punishment, but it's important to remember that the methods used within each of the 5 components are all quite different. It's easy to associate negative reinforcement with negative punishment, and that's not the true design. Keep in mind that to reinforce something is to strengthen it. With positive reinforcement, a stimulus was added to the environment. Therefore, the probability of the desired behavior increases. If you command your dog to sit and it does, and then you give the dog a treat, the dog will usually then sit on command because it will always want the treat. The treat is the stimulus. With negative reinforcement, you are still strengthening or increasing a behavior, just in a different way. Negative reinforcement occurs when an unpleasant stimulus is removed to achieve the desired behavior. If I want my son to complete his homework before he starts playing Minecraft on the computer, then he will want to complete his homework or he will lose his computer time the next day. The unpleasant stimulus is my son losing his computer time, so he will complete his homework as instructed. Positive and negative punishment are the next 2 components of behavior modification. To punish is different than to reinforce. With punishment, there is an infliction of penalty or pain as retribution for an offense. To reinforce is to increase a behavior, whereas to punish is to decrease a behavior. Positive punishment is when a stimulus is added to the environment. Therefore, the probability of the undesired behavior decreases. To demonstrate the difference between these 2 concepts, I will give 2 examples. Keep in mind that the goal of punishment with any behavior is to make that behavior less likely to be repeated. Again, positive refers to adding something. So I have 2 dogs. They both like to bark. I don't like their barking. So I put both of them in a vibrating bark collar so that when they bark, the collar will vibrate up to only 3 times, reminding them to stop barking. However, I really don't want to inflict pain on my dogs. I more just want them to stop barking. So with the collars they have 3 levels of vibration, the third being more of an uncomfortable and slight shock. The punishment is the vibration with each bark. With each bark, the vibration gets stronger if they continue to carry on. Usually before the 3rd vibration, they will stop barking. The dog learns a boundary that to avoid an unpleasant shock, they need to stop barking. By the way, this actually has worked very well, and all I really need to do now is put their bark collars on, and they don't really bark, unless, of course, somebody rings the doorbell, and then it's all downhill from there. For negative punishment, a negative stimulus is added to weaken the undesired behavior. So back to my 2 dogs, but with a different scenario this time. So each one of my dogs gets a dog bone in the morning, but my Labrador Shelby eats hers very quickly and then gets jealous when my other dog Lily is still chewing away. Shelby becomes very obnoxious when this happens. She whines, she barks, she growls, and just carries on when Lily is happily chewing away on her bone. We call this bone jealousy, even though that's probably not really a real thing. Regardless, prior to us implementing negative punishment, oftentimes Shelby would make a huge scene until Lily would give up her bone. So I have used negative punishment to stop Shelby's obnoxious behavior. When she starts her bone jealousy noises, I command her to leave the room where Lily is chewing on her bone. That way, Lily does not feel threatened to give up her bone, and Shelby doesn't get to be around the other dog with the dog bone. The negative stimulus being removed is that she has to leave the room. Crazy enough, this has also worked. Now, when the two dogs get their dog bones in the morning and Shelby eats hers quickly while Lily is still slowly chewing away, Shelby just watches her instead of making the noises because she knows that as soon as she makes the noise, I will command her to leave the room. So a few key points here. Positive reinforcement. Stimulus added to the environment so future probability of behavior increases. Negative reinforcement. Stimulus removed from the environment so future probability of behavior increases. Positive punishment. stimulus added to the environment, so future probability of the behavior decreases. Negative punishment, stimulus removed from the environment, so future probability of behavior decreases. One component that I have not reviewed is the concept of extinction. Extinction, as we commonly know this term, is something that happens when no reinforcement of behavior is happening. We stop reinforcing desired responses, we will stop getting desired responses. The best example I have for this concept is to think about the animals at SeaWorld. As soon as these instinctually wild biologics stop getting food, they will stop performing and desire to eat whatever is available, including their trainers. Keep in mind that conditioning of any kind only lasts as long as the desired behavior is reinforced.